My first job after getting out of nursing school was with the Seattle Visiting Nurse Service, and one of the other nurses had been a stewardess, and the Air Force the Air Corps got in touch with ex-stewardesses when they started the air evacuation program. So they contacted her, and she told the other nurses, and two of us in Seattle visiting nurse wrote to General Arnold and asked if we could join, and so we were told we could, and so I entered in March of 1943. Was assigned to Hamilton Air Force Base, Hamilton Field near San Francisco.
Was there something about the excitement of it, or just wanting to be part of the war effort?
I think so. I thought about, they kept saying that public health was important, but the war effort was the emphasis, and I'd been thinking about going, and when this came up, it sounded like someplace I could really be useful.
And where were you stationed?
Hamilton Field, outside of San Francisco. And from there I moved to Bowman Field School of Air Evacuation.
Okay. What would you say? Tell us a day in the life of your job as a military nurse.
A day, for instance, like D-Day, and you're bringing folks. Walk us kind of through a day like that.
Oh my! Well, that was quite. We were stationed at Greenham Commons in England on D-Day, and that's where the paratroop planes took off. So we counted them off and back. They all came back. It happened that, so we were pleased with that, but very concerned what we heard about. And as I said, our squadron was the first to go on about D+4. They went in, some of them, and it was amazing how soon they'd gotten airstrips so that we could land on Omaha Beach to pick up the wounded. And of course, the devastation was tremendous. But we were able to fly in and fly out and bring them back to England, the wounded.
As you flew in over that beach,
mm-hmm.
Tell us what you were thinking, what a young lady thinks when she gets a chance to see where the battle was taking place and where these guys had hit the beach and the cliffs and all of that.
Well, it's just, you could hardly imagine anything worse, and yet you hope that really there weren't as many lives lost as it appeared, and that we were going to be able to save a lot if they were wounded.
Did it make you reflect a little bit on just, I don't know, it sounds corny to say, but the heroism of the young men that you were bringing back to have gone through that?
Oh, sure. Mm-hmm. I thought of the paratroopers that we'd been living close to, and how young they were, and how they must have grown up overnight. Yeah.
How old were you?
Well, I must have been about 23. I should have figured it out.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Okay, so in thinking at this age, how to, talk to somebody who has been this hurt,
mm-hmm.
Do you almost feel like, this is overwhelming at that age, or do you just think, oh, well?
Well, at first you do the kind of usual things. You kind of think you should talk to them about where did they come from and that sort of thing, and pretty soon you realize they're really wounded and they're not really anxious to talk about some of these things. They just want to get someplace where they're a little more secure and a little more protected.
The effort to get them out of pain,
mm-hmm.
I'm sure, was always... Did you have plenty of medication for that?
Well, yes, we didn't have a lot on the planes. They'd been taken care of, right then, and it was a pretty short flight back to England, so we didn't do too much in the way of giving medications. We just hurried them back to a hospital,
Right.
and they had been taken care of initially. But,
What do the nurses do on their time off to regain their strength and their composure and their what do you all do? Did you all play cards? Did you go shopping?
Well, we had bicycles. I heard Harriet say that, and which is what we did. But we did. I wasn't much of a card player, but a lot of the girls did play cards. I did go kind of exploring. It was the countryside. It was near Reading, England, that we were, and it was just kind of fun to walk around. And I remember getting some fresh eggs, which was a big thing, from some of the farmers. That was a treat.
And going back and making a big bunch of scrambled eggs.
That's right. Yeah.
Did you like the English people?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, they were. Yeah.
What would you say is a fond memory of the time that you were serving in England?
Well, just the friends of my associates. They were, they remained special all the rest of their lives, and still, yeah.
And what part of the job would you say, oh, I'm so glad I never have to do that again?
Well, just when at the end when I came home, I couldn't believe we'd ever get involved in anything like this again. Just couldn't believe that we would allow that to happen. So I still can't understand quite.
Did you experience what they call now? Is it called secondary post-traumatic stress?
I don't think so, really. I think that we were fortunate that way. We just felt we were doing the best we could, and of course we didn't begin to have the equipment they have today, so I'm sure we didn't save as many as they are today. But
how important were those years during World War II? How important were they to the rest of your life?
Oh, they were important. Those friends I made, and I was involved for quite some time in a Beyond War movement, and felt that was quite significant that we try to avoid anything like this in the future, especially after we had the nuclear capability.
Was that the main mission of Beyond the War movement?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Were there quite a few of you from the World War II time? Was there quite a few of you in this, or I'd never heard of it?
You hadn't? No. We were living in San Diego, and it was a group that had started in Palo Alto, actually, and not necessarily were they World War II
I see.
retirees, but my husband had also been in service, and we were both very committed.
What would advice or something you would want to say to modern day women who are military nurses? What would you want them to know from your lifetime experience?
Well, how important their work is, and how I hope they take advantage of all the education opportunities they have, so that they can be as helpful as possible. And it's a very worthy venture, as long as it has to be.
If you had it to do over again, would you?
Yes. Yeah. It's an interesting thing how I hear others say this too, but when we flew several loads back after D-Day. We moved to Prestwick, Scotland, and I flew C-54s back to the States. And it's amazing how when you get back here, you're anxious to get back to...
How do you explain that?
I don't know, but it really is really... I'm sure that people that, haven't experienced it can't quite understand. But Yeah, we were always anxious to get back.
Do you think that's part of the close bonding, that you all
so.
understand things that...
I think there's something that happens, that togetherness that
really can't be translated.
no, it really can't.
You
No.
can't just package that
No,
up or
no.
teach it to your children. It's,
You have
it's
to.
so unique.
I think it is.
Well, great. Is there anything that you'd like to add to this?
Well, the Battle of the Bulge, of course, was almost as dramatic, and we were stationed in Orléans, France at that time, and we lost some of the pilots. That was not easy. And then when we went up, I remember saying that was when the buzz bombs were new, and I remember saying to a couple of our patients, I said, what do those buzz bombs sound like? And he said, just like that. And just then one came over, and we had to stay overnight actually up in Liège, Belgium, because there was too much activity. But the thing about then was we were taking these young boys who had just barely gotten into service, and here we are taking them up to the front lines, and then bringing them back in a few days, some of them.